Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa mawalah ma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, so we're now moving forward with our third and final video of week 1. And as promised, in this video we're going to develop for you the past tense verb, the perfect tense. It's one of the two main verbs. In total there's 3 verbs. The grammar people categorize the verb into 3 categories: the perfect, the imperfect, and the command. Okay, each one of them has variations. So the total amount of possible verb tables is much larger than 3. Okay, but the base from which the rest of the verbs are constructed are only 3. The first is called the perfect, al-fi'lul madi, the madi verb, the past tense verb. And this is what we'll be focusing on in week 1. Okay, in the previous video we introduced grammar. Okay, we started introducing grammar and that was by the mapping of the language. And we explained how every language has a mechanism, needs a mechanism, in order to distinguish between the roles that the nouns are playing within the sentence. So if you line up a verb into nouns, you need to be able to tell which of the nouns is the one doing the verb, and which of the nouns is the one upon whom the verb is being done. And it was leading towards comprehensiveness at the sentence level. Okay, but if you go back and watch the video, you'll notice that I didn't really get to that. I didn't get to the highlighting of the comprehensiveness at the sentence level in the same way that I was able to do it at the word level in the first video. Okay, so we're gonna need to wait for that in week 2 when I continue with the mapping, because right now we've only talked about the phrase. We haven't talked about we've only talked about the word. Okay, we've subclassified the word, the parts of speech, and categorized the parts of speech into the jamid, the masdar, the mushtaq, etc., governing agent, non-governing agent, and that led to your first exposure to the human emotions and the facial expressions analogy. Okay, so you have some idea of what it means for a word to experience a grammatical state. Okay, now in week 2 we're going to talk about phrases, and phrases is when you combine words together. Okay, so you get a meaning from word number 1 and you get a meaning from the second word, and because of the structure you get more meaning. And it's somewhat similar to what was happening in Istansaru. Okay, so we're going to need to wait for that. And inshallah then in week 3 we'll talk about sentences, and you'll get an even better appreciation of how the Arabic language is extremely comprehensive at the sentence level. Okay, so we're going to develop that further, inshallah. So let's continue with the third presentation. Here, this is pure sarf. Okay, we have 2 tasks on our hand, and that is number 1, to give you the model pattern for the past tense verb, and then number 2, we want to fill the slots for the table layout that we introduced to you in the very first video, the table of 14. Okay, so let's remind you very quickly about the table of 14, and then I'll begin filling the slots. Okay, now I'm gonna go somewhat slowly. Okay, I remember in the last iteration of this content, the one that I produced in November 2010, some people did comment and they emailed me and they said that this third video was extremely fast. Okay, and I take that very seriously. If somebody makes a comment and it's a constructive criticism type comment, then I take that as 20 people, saying the same thing, because most people, they don't say anything. Okay, if they're not satisfied or if they feel that there's something wrong, then 19 out of 20 would just remain silent. It would be that one person that does speak up and tells me. Okay, so my expectation from you throughout our time together, inshallah, is the same. That I do expect you to be providing me with feedback, because this is what enables me to perfect the material even further and make it even better. Okay, so let's begin. Let's remind you of the table layout, and that would be the table of 14. And the factors that led to the 14 were number 1, the gender, number 2, the plurality, and number 3, the person. So person is when you're speaking about the doer of the verb, or you're speaking to the doer of the verb, or you yourself are the doer of the verb. So taking that as the first factor, you see that on the left column, third person. Within third person, we're going to have a group of males and a group of females. Within each of those groups, we're going to have singular, dual, plural, singular, dual, plural. He, they, she, they, and I'm going from left to right. So third person, and then third person splits up into masculine and feminine, and then each of those split up into singular, dual, plural. 1 male, 2 males, group of males. 1 female, 2 females, group of females. And you can see the English equivalents there. He, they, she, they, and that's conjugations 1 through 6. So the actual verbs are going to occupy that slot on the far right. We're going to put actual verbs there. Or we're going to introduce a new column in between the number and the English equivalent. There's going to be a new column there, and that's where the actual Arabic verb will come. Okay, so second person layout is exactly the same. You, speaking to one male, speaking to two males, speaking to a group of males, speaking to one female. It should say female, the slide says male. Okay, so I'll fix that up inshallah when I give you the slides and the handouts. So you speaking to one female, you speaking to two females, and you speaking to a group of females. And then we have I and we at the very end. Okay, and here it doesn't matter if the speaker is a male or a female. And it also, in number 14, it doesn't matter whether it's a group of males speaking about themselves, or is it a group of females, or whether it's two. So it's just we. Okay, so it's over here is 2 plus. Anyway, so that's the basic layout. So now we're introducing for you the past tense verb, the perfect verb. So you're gonna have your 3 letters, and that come from the alphabet, and those could be any 3 letters grouped together in a particular order. So Noon, Sad, Ra grouped together in that order gives you the meaning of to help. So now the question is, what vowels do we place on the consonants in order to achieve the past tense active voice? Okay, so everything I talk about from now until about 5 minutes before the end of the presentation will be active specific. So I will begin with the active version of the past tense verb. I'll tell you everything you need to know about the active. Once I'm done with that, then I'll spend 2 minutes speaking about the slight modification that's done to the verb in order to create passive, and what it means for the verb to be active and what it means for the verb to be passive. Although I've spoken about that already. That active is when the verb is attributed to the doer. So basically all of the endings that I give you to be attached to each of these 14 will be representing the doer. So the wow in the istansaru example that was given in the first video, that wow was telling us that the doer of the verb is a group of males, and we're talking about the group of males, so that was all coming from the wow. So the last letter, the designated ending, is representing the subject in an active verb. If the verb becomes passive, then that same ending now is speaking about this object. Okay, so they were helped. When I say they were helped, I'm not speaking about the helper. The helper could have been me, or the helper could have been a female, or the helper could have been a male, or it could have been a group. But that wow is not telling us anything about the helper, but instead in the passive example, the wow is telling us that the people that were helped were a group of males, and we're talking about them. Okay, so I'll remind you about that again at the end of the presentation. Let's go ahead and let's give you the model, and let's give you the designated endings. So when you take the model and the endings and you combine it together, you get the table. So every table is a combination of 2 pieces of information. Piece of information number 1, what is the model? In other words, what is the particular configuration that is added to the consonants in order to achieve the tense and the voice? That's what I mean when I say model. Okay, and then what are the designated endings that are attached to the end of the model in order to create the conjugations? And a conjugation is the combining of the verb and the pronoun together, and that letter at the end is actual pronoun. It means he, they, she, they, 6 U's, I, and we. So let's go ahead. Okay, well, first of all, you can see the whole entire table here. So we have, there you go, he, they, she, they, 6 U's, I, and we. Okay, so the model pattern for the past tense verb in 3-lettered verbs without extras, active voice is fa'ala. Okay, now you might want to listen to that again. The model pattern for the past tense verb, active voice in 3-lettered verbs without extras is fa'ala. So by saying all of that, I just gave you a lot of assumptions. Okay, or there's a lot of implications to what I said. Because when I said 3-lettered verbs, it implies that a verb could be 4-lettered, which is true. It's possible for a verb to involve 4 of the letters of the alphabet together, contributing and conveying the meaning. And that is rare. The majority of verbs are 3-lettered. And this is why in the first introduction of the topic, I never even spoke about 4-lettered. Okay, but just for now, you should know that it can exist. 4 letters can combine together to create a meaning. Okay, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about 3 letters. And then I said past tense. So clearly the present future one would be different. And the primary difference between this one and the one that we're going to give to you in week 3 is that the present future tense verb has a special letter that needs to be at the front. This one doesn't. This one doesn't have a special letter that needs to be at the front, but instead the first radical will be the first letter. Okay, and then I say without extras, so that means that the verb could be bigger, it could be enhanced. Okay, and enhancements can occur in a number of ways. Okay, that number is finite. There's a cap to it. Okay, and istansara is an example of an enhanced verb. So enhancements is something that's introduced much later. Okay, first we need to see them occurring within the Qasas book, and first we need to get through the simple tables from this one, the Madi one, until the Amr and the prohibition. And once we've done one round of verb conjugating simple, then we can start moving into the enhancements. So it's like the second area of sarf, and more on that later, inshallah. Okay, and then pretty much that's all I said. I said the model pattern for the past tense verb, active voice in 3-lettered verbs without extras is fa'ala, which means that all 3 of the radicals need to be voweled with a fatha, and the fa, the ain, and the lam are like a template, or it's like a I think template is a good word. So basically you would switch. You would take your 3 letters from the dictionary and change the fa to the first letter you have, change the ain to the second letter, and change the lam to the third letter, and you get something like nasara, which means helped, and jalasa, which means sat. Fa'ala itself means did. Okay, like he did. Okay, but the meaning of fa'ala is not relevant. It's the base letter meaning of fa'ala is not relevant. It's the what you're getting from the pattern which is relevant, which is number 1, the past tense, and number 2, the active voice, and that's coming from these 3 vowels being from the 3 consonants being voweled with this configuration of vowels and not some other combination, right? Okay, so basically from all 14 of them, 13 of them will have endings. 13 of them will have endings, and the top one, the first one, does not need to have a special letter at the end, because it's the absence of all 13 other letters that by default will make it conjugation number 1. So when I say fa'ala, it not only means did, but it means he did. So there's an assumed or implied he in there, singular masculine. Okay, so now we're developing the table, and what we have on the screen is the first one, and this is going to grow. It's going to go from 1 to 14, and by the end you'll have the entire table. So at this stage, again, I'd like to remind you to shut off any distractions you might have, the instant messengers or the cell phone or whatever, and just be listening to my voice, inshallah, and listen with the aim of memorizing while I'm speaking. And you might think that that's a hard task, but let me tell you, I'm going to go quite slowly, and by that time I'm done, you'll find yourself having memorized the majority of the table, if not all of it. Okay, even if you've never seen it before, inshallah, and this will shortcut and reduce the amount of time you need to spend after watching the video. Okay, so we have fa'ala so far, and that means he. If you want translations, then I would say do it with nasara and create translation. So the one on the screen right now would translate to he helped. Okay, if the letters were nun sadra, it would translate to he sat if the letters were jim, lam, and sin. You see, so it's the template, and the template should not be translated. You don't have to force a translation for fa'ala. He did, they did, she did, you did. Okay, because over there it works, but then when you get into the passive, it's going to become like he was done, they were done. What is that supposed to mean? He was done, they were done. So it becomes a little awkward. So this is why I would suggest not to translate the pattern or the template, but instead use the helping letters if you really want to translate. But again, it's not about translating. It's about noting the pattern specific meaning, because the helping or the hitting or the sitting or the standing is not coming from the pattern. That's coming from the letters. You see, so it's abstracting it to what is really being taught. We're not teaching you the translation of the verbs, we're teaching you the meaning associated to the pattern. And I'll say that one more time because it's so important, that we're not teaching you the translations of the 14 verbs, but instead we're teaching you the meanings which are coming from the pattern, which are only 2 in our case right now, because there's no extra letters. So those 2 meanings are, number 1, the tense, the voice, and then we're getting the gender, the plurality, and the person of the one doing the verb also, and that's gonna come from the letter at the end. In the case of number 1, there is no letter at the end, so it's by default. Okay, so let's move on to the second conjugation. If you want to speak about 2 males, that 2 males are doing a certain action, or let me fix that. If you want to talk about 2 males, that 2 males have done or did a certain action in the past, whatever that action is, it doesn't matter, then that is done by adding an alif to the end of the verb. Okay, so fa'ala becomes fa'ala, and you see that here on the next screen. Add an alif after the last base letter. Okay, and it becomes fa'ala. And the examples, changing the letters will be nasara, they, two males helped, and jalasa, they, two males sat. Okay, so now you can see both of them lined up together, fa'ala, fa'ala. So you should be able to lift your head from the screen and say fa'ala, fa'ala. And if you can do that, then we're ready to move on to the third one. For the third one, we're going to add a waw. And this is similar to the waw that we saw in the istansaru example. That was a bigger verb, this is a smaller verb. That was an enhanced one, and this is a simple one. So how do you do that? Okay, you add a waw to the very end of the verb, and that waw needs to be preceded by a dhamma. So the lam position, they call it the lam position. Lam position is a reference to the third letter. The fa position, the ayn position, the lam position. When you want to speak about any of those three base letters, this is how we describe them. So the lam position of the verb will receive a dhamma, and this will create a lu, fa'alu. Now there's an alif at the very end also. The alif at the very end is silent, and it's not pronounced, and it's there for a particular reason. So I'm going to go ahead, pause, and speak about the alif. It's an advanced secret for you. The reason why we have this alif at the end, which is not pronounced, is not to highlight additional stretch. Okay, like it doesn't mean stretch the waw more if there's an alif and stretch it less if there's no alif. That's not what it is. The alif is there in script. Okay, so when you're reading a book in Arabic, in a conjugation number 3 of a madi, not only will you have a waw, but you'll also have an alif written there in the text. The purpose of the alif is to distinguish between the waw pronoun and the other waw we have in the language, which is a conjunction. It means and. In this case, it's okay, because the lam and the waw are connected together, so clearly it's going to be a pronoun. But there's certain letters in the alphabet like a dal, or a zal, or a ra, or a za, okay, which do not connect to the letters that come after. And if you've studied the alphabet, you know this, right? So for example, let me give you an example of a verb that ends in a dal, or a ra, like nasara. Look at nasaru. Look bottom, it's on the same slide. Nasaru. Now that means they, group of males, helped. If I remove the alif, then and also assuming that there's no vowels, because in a text there will be no vowels, which is something very interesting, because I just told you that the majority of the meanings they come from the vowels, and yet when you read the Arabic text, the vowels aren't even there. So how does that work? So at this stage, it probably mystifies you. How is it even possible to read a text without vowels? Given that the majority of the meanings are coming from the vowels. So that is mystifying, because you don't know the rules, and you don't know how the language works, and you don't know about context and how the rest of the words will help you in identifying. Okay? But then once you're exposed to the system and you understand how the language works, then this becomes effortless. It becomes like typing, that when you begin typing for the first time, then you need to look at the keys, and you need to slowly identify where they are. But once you know the positioning of the keys, and you might not know that the way that the QWERTY keyboard that we have is actually counterintuitive, and that's they did that. They arranged the keys in this manner because the olden day typewriters, people were typing too quickly, and the typewriters couldn't keep up, and they were breaking down. So they arranged it like this. But then people use this, and they're not comfortable with any other method of the arrangement of the keys, and they wouldn't be able to type. They'd have to relearn everything. So the thing is, once you know the system, then it becomes effortless, just like typing. Okay, so people, they don't need to look at the keyboard, and they can type extremely quickly. Okay, so similarly, all of this recognition of the verbs and being able to read without vowels becomes effortless once you know the system. Okay, but there's certain instances where there could be a genuine confusion, where the text, the script, would lend itself to more than one way of being read, and context alone would not solve that. So here, for example, in what you're seeing on the screen, nasaru, if you remove the alif and also remove the vowels, then that could conceivably be read nasaru and also nasarawa. If you say nasarawa, it means he helped and something else happened. So the waw would be a conjunction, and the verb would be conjugation number 1. So how do you distinguish between conjugation number 1 plus conjunction and conjugation number 3, in which case the waw is a pronoun, it's not a conjunction, and the translation would be radically different. The first structure is he helped and the other one is they helped. So the alif, silent alif, is placed there in the script to easily so the person doesn't have to think about it, and they don't have to exert too much mental energy on it. So that's your advanced secret for the week. Okay, and you can listen to that a couple of times, and you can ask about it if you need further clarification on it. on the forum and also in the live sessions. Let's continue forward. Okay, so by adding this wow at the end of the verb and placing a dhamma on the lam position, we get the third conjugation, which is fa'alu, they, group of males, and the examples are nasaru, they helped, and jalasu, they sat. Okay, so now you're seeing all three of them on the screen, fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, and you should be able to do that lifting your head off the screen, fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu. And let's move on to the group, the females, the 1, the 2, and the group of females. So for conjugation number 4, they add a ta at the end of the verb after the lam position. The ta has a sukoon, and you get fa'alat, nasarat, she helped, and jalasat, she sat. So you add this to the list, and now we have fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alat. And you're seeing all 4 of them on the screen. Fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alat. The 5th one is when you're speaking about 2 females, and here you would add an alif after the ta, and now the ta wouldn't be sakin anymore, the ta would receive a fatha. And the reason why the ta needs to receive a fatha is because alif necessitates fatha before it. So fa'alata, you can't pronounce an alif unless you have a fatha before it. So we get they, 2 females helped, nasarata, and they, 2 females sat, jalasata. So now we have fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alat, fa'alata. And you're seeing all 5 of them on the screen here. At this stage, pause the video and make sure you know this. Make sure you can do fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alat, fa'alata from memory. And even if it takes 5 minutes, it will be a 5 minutes well spent. Okay? Fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alat, fa'alata. Okay, now moving into the group of females. Okay, now with the group of females, something unique happens. In conjugation number 6, something unique happens, and that is that the third radical, or the third base letter, or the lam position, they all mean the same thing. The lam position of the verb receives a sukoon. So we get fa'al, and then we add the ending to represent the group of females, and this continues until the end of the table. So it's going to be fa'al plus ending, fa'al plus ending, fa'al plus ending, fa'al plus ending, right until the 14th one. Okay, so the particular ending for conjugation number 6 is a noon with a fatha on it, so we get fa'alna, and the examples are they helped, a group of females, nasarna, and they sat, a group of females, jalasna. And now you're seeing all 6 of them on the screen. Fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alat, fa'alata, fa'alna. Okay, so that's the top 6. The middle 6 is you, speaking to 1 male, speaking to 2 males, speaking to a group of males, 1 female, 2 females, group of females. And the lam position of the verb will have a sukoon throughout all 6 of those, like I just told you. Okay, beyond the sukoon, you're gonna get, listen carefully, ta, tuma, tum, ti, tuma, tunna. Write it down on a piece of paper. Ta, tuma, tum, ti, tuma, tunna. And I'm gonna develop all 6 of them for you one by one. But it's a good idea to see all of them and hear all of them. Just the endings. I'm just isolating the endings. Ta, tuma, tum, ti, tuma, tunna. Now what we do is we combine the fa'al with the ta, the fa'al with the tuma, and we have our middle 6. Fa'alta, fa'altuma, fa'altum, fa'alti, fa'altuma, fa'altunna. Let's go ahead and see them one by one. So it's a ta with a fatha on it. Nasarta, you helped. Jalasta, you sat. And here you see it on the screen from the top. Fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alat, fa'alata, fa'alna, fa'alta. And the ending for the 2 males, when you're speaking to 2 males, is tuma, and that will be fa'altuma. Nasartuma, jalastuma. Okay, now you see the entire table up until conjugation number 8, and the new ones that were introduced at the bottom 2, fa'alta, fa'altuma, and number 9 would be fa'altum. So fa'alta, fa'altuma, fa'altum. Remember, ta, tuma, tum, ti, tuma, tunna. So fa'alta, fa'altuma, fa'altum. And that you see in conjugation number 9 is tum. Fa'altum, nasartum, you, group of males, helped. 3 or more males, helped. You, 3 or more males, sat. Jalastum. Okay, now ti for the 10th one. And notice that the ending, first of all, you see all 9 of them here. And the 3 new ones, 7, 8, and 9 are fa'alta, fa'altuma, fa'altum. And ti is the ending for conjugation number 10 when you're speaking to 1 female. And this is different than the 7th one. The 7th one was 1 male, and the 10th one is 1 female. So that one was fa'alta, and this one's fa'alti. Okay, keep that in mind. It's worth remembering that fa'alta when you're speaking to 1 male, and fa'alti when you're speaking to 1 female. Nasarti and jalasti. Okay, so now you can see that also added to the list. From the top, fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alat, fa'alata, fa'alna, fa'alta, fa'altuma, fa'altum, fa'alti. Okay, now for the two females, we're going to repeat the same one we did. Number 8 is going to come again, and that's an overlap. And if you notice, there's very little overlap. This is the one place where there is overlap. So fa'altuma is repeated twice, speaking to two females. So it doesn't really matter if you're speaking to two males or you're speaking to two females. You use the same one. You'll say nasartuma, you two females helped. Jalastuma, you two females sat. And for number 12, it's tunna. But first, you get to see all 11 of them on the screen, and the 11th one is fa'altuma. So now, for number 12, the ending is tunna. And for the group of males, it was tum. Tum there and tunna here. So, ta tuma tum, ti tuma tunna. Okay, and again, it's worth being able to do that. Being able to rattle off those 6 endings. And then it's just a matter of combining the fa'al with the ending and creating all 6 of them. Fa'al tunna. Okay. Nasar tunna, you helped, group of females. Jalas tunna, you sat, group of females. And now you can see all 12 of them. Okay, so fa'alta, fa'altuma, fa'altum, fa'alti, fa'altuma, fa'altunna. And now we're almost ready to wrap it up. Okay, at this stage, again, pause the video and be able to do all 12 of them. And then continue forward with 13, 14. Add them to the list and you have all 14 of them. So the ending for the 13th one, when one male or one female is speaking about themselves, that again is going to be a ta. Okay, so how many tas have we seen so far? Number 4 had a ta. Number 7 had a ta. And number 10 also had a ta. Look at the screen. Okay, notice that the ta in number 4 is sakin. Okay, it's a sign of femininity. It means that we're speaking about a female. And the ta that's coming at the end of number 7 and at the end of number 10 are pronouns. When it has a fatha, it means you, one male. And when it has a kasra, then that ta means you, one female. What hasn't been used? Okay, the ta with the dhamma hasn't been used, so they go ahead and use it now. Okay, so the ending for number 13 is tu. And the entire verb would be fa'altu, nasartu, and jalastu. I helped and I sat. Okay, so you're seeing number 13 added to the list, and for number 14 it would be a noon and an alif. Not if it's only noon, then that was used in number 6. If you look at the screen, fa'alna, that was just noon with a fatha on it. But now we have a stretch along with it, and it's fa'alna. Okay, so there you go, fa'alna. And the complete verb is, the two examples are nasarna, we helped, and jalasna, we helped. And again, it doesn't matter whether it's a group of males speaking about themselves, or if it's a group of females speaking about themselves, or if it's two males or two females. Dual becomes irrelevant, and gender becomes irrelevant, and the conjugation is the same one for all of those 4 meanings. Two males, group of males, two females, group of females. It's simply a na, and the verb is fa'alna. And now you can see the entire table. And let me just do it for you. Fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alat, fa'alata, fa'alna, fa'alta, fa'altuma, fa'altum, fa'alti, fa'altuma, fa'altunna, fa'altu, fa'alna. And you should be able to do it from memory. And try to get that ready for the Wednesday evening session. Okay, so what we gave you was the model pattern plus the endings for the past tense active voice. So if you want to do passive, what do you do? Okay, for passive, you're going to need to modify the first and the second vowel, and you can see that in the examples at the bottom of the slide, that instead of nasa we get nusi. Okay, so nusira, he was helped, and nusirtu, I was helped. Okay, and the endings would remain the same endings. Okay, so first of all, passive would mean that the verb is directed towards the object, and now that ending is giving us the gender, the plurality, and the person of not the one doing the verb, but instead the object of the verb. So when I say he was helped, it's the one that was helped, that's a male, and that's one, and I'm talking about them. I'm talking about that person. And nusirtu, when I say nusirtu, it means that I was the one that was helped, and we don't know who the helper was. It could have been a male, it could have been a female, it could have been two males or two females. It's not relevant. It's not relevant. So that's what happens in passive. The verb is directed towards the object and the subject is missing. That's the definition of passive. So here's how it's done. You would have to, step number 1, change the voweling of the second to last letter to a kasra. So the sad in this example would get a kasra. And if it's not already kasra. And that if it's not already kasra is an advanced topic. It means that the verb can have a kasra to begin with in the active. And we'll tell you more about that inshallah when we start seeing it in the stories of the Prophet's book. Okay, so in Nasara it was not a kasra, so we had to do that. We had to change the sa to si, and that last part becomes sira. Instead of sara, it becomes sira. Step number 2, change the vowel of the fa position to the dhamma. So the first letter of the verb gets a dhamma. So fa'ala becomes fu'ila, nasara becomes nusira. Okay, now it is the object whose gender, plurality, and person are being reflected by the designated letters at the end. And it will be the same table. So let me go ahead and rattle off for you the passive table using these letters, the nun sad ra letters. It will be like this: nusira, nusira, nusiru, nusirat, nusirata, nusirna, nusirta, nusirtuma, nusirtum, nusirti, nusirtuma, nusirtunna, nusirtu, nusirna. And the meanings associated to all 14 of them would be: he was helped, they were helped, they were helped, she was helped, they were helped, they were helped, you were helped 6 times, I was helped, we were helped. Okay, now we have 2 of them. We have fa'ala and we have fu'ila. Fa'ala is the model for the active and fu'ila is the model for the passive. If you want to make it negative, then what you would do is you would put a ma at the front of both of those. Ma nasara, he did not help. Ma nusira, he was not helped. And that's pretty much it. Okay, and the verb becomes negative. By adding the ma at the front, the verb becomes negative. So we have 4 tables now. More precisely, we have 1 table repeated 4 times. So the actual memorization doesn't happen 4 times. If you spent half an hour to nail down the fa'ala table, I wouldn't want you to spend half an hour for the second one, half an hour for the third one, half an hour for the fourth one. So you don't need 120 minutes to do this. You need half an hour for the first one, and then you need 2 minutes for the second, third, and fourth. And then you should have all 4 of them. And along with this video, underneath in the downloads, you'll see a chart. Okay, you can print that out, and it will have all 4 columns for you, neatly arranged together. And if you have the book Fundamentals of Classical Arabic, which is given to you in the beginner's book package, then you can see it there too. Okay, but then neither the book is essential nor that chart is essential. We're giving it to you as an aid. Okay, because to cater to the different learning styles. But truth be told, you don't need the chart. Okay, and if you think that the chart is everything, okay, and without the chart you're just completely handicapped, then I would suggest that you watch this video again. Okay, because it's about developing, it's about noting slight differences. And if you were with me throughout this session, then chances are then you will have memorized the great majority of the table. And if you can post underneath this video and let me know what percentage of the table you were really able to memorize just by listening to me, without consciously sitting down and rote memorizing it, okay, then that would just give me an idea of how accurate I was in my claim at the beginning of the video, where I said that if you pay attention and if you remove all distractions, then by the end of the video you will have memorized the entire table. So go ahead and post a comment. And you can also tell me about the speed of what you like, what you didn't like, and this concludes week 1. And inshallah we'll see you in the Sunday session, and we'll have week 2 ready for you in a few days from now. The transcripts are being created, and you have to give us time for that. Okay, so I would at least allow between 7 and 10 days for the transcripts of a particular video to become available once the video has been made public. Once the video has been uploaded to the portal, give it 10 days. Okay, eventually all of the downloads that are underneath the video will be replaced with new downloads that are relevant to the new material that's being provided. It's a lot similar to the one that the videos that I created in November, but you will notice that they're more lean, and the quality of the audio is much better. Okay, and we're going to continue with this inshallah, and complete our 50 hours of core training. And I'd like to ask you all to pray, inshallah, that I'm able to, marshal my resources and be able to do this, because it does get exhausting, because I teach 6-month intensive students also in the daytime. Okay, so with that said, let us know what you thought. Okay, and there's that accountability thread at the forum, and you'll be directed to that too. So once a week you should be posting at that thread and letting us know your progress. And that's all for now. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.